So about my self-portrait, this is an early work. I just left my job as a programmer for a Dutch insurance company to paint full-time, so I was all very serious about it. I lived in a tiny house in the mountains, and the only mirror I could use for a self-portrait was in my bathroom, so I had my easel on top of the toilet, and I just went out in the woods for a few days. It took me 3 days to do, but I still really like it. It still tells me a lot about how I felt at that time. I don't think I've ever shown this work, so there it is. But it was actually probably my first oil painting portrait that wasn't of a model at the Art Students League of Denver. So little did I know that many years later I would be painting from life on a regular basis. As for the man in the turban, that painting came not quite out of nowhere, but pretty close. I had a black and white photograph that I liked, and somehow that painting came out of it. But it said very different things from what I got from the photograph. I still really, really like it. It's never been shown before and probably won't be again. But it lives in my house, and I look at it every day. The three from Cuba, one was the guy that I met early on there. He was sitting in the park drinking rum with a friend of his. He was a paint salesman or something like that. Anyway, very nice guy, and I think he fancied me a little bit. I was married at the time, so that really wasn't part of my program. But I painted, I went to his house, to his sister's house where he was living, and I painted a couple of portraits there, one of him and one of another guy. And they gave me lunch, and we had a really nice afternoon, and he asked me to bring his portrait back to the United States. And I'll never sell that particular one. It means a lot to me. And I still really like the painting. That was from the second, I think it was the second portrait trip I took. Jamaica was the first. And the handsome young guy is named Alex, and that was one of the last paintings I did on the Cuba trip. And you know, the Cuba trip's the only one where I came home with any portraits, with any finished work at all, really, until I painted the soldiers, and that was kind of a different story. The people there really understood about art for art's sake, and they really understood what I was doing, giving them the portraits, but for them it was, they really wanted me to take these works back to the States. It was like, they clearly understood the idea of a portrait as a presence of themselves, and the States was where they wanted to be. And anyway, I'm so glad to have those. He said he really liked the painting, Alex did. He looked at it, he said, "Man, you're fucking good." So, anyway, I'm happy to have that work. And the other one, I remember that guy. Let me look up if I can see what I wrote about him. If I wrote anything, it's on the website, so you can find it there.